Good morning, East Leiden, and welcome back. I'm Gus Toster.
And I'm Colin O'Neill bringing you the Eagle update for December 2nd and 3rd. In this episode, our field team has reports on a number of topics. One is to whether pour your money into a car or not.
And we interview the girls basketball head coach.
There's information about the state's decision to allow absences for mental health.
And a rundown on the absence of the work program at East this year.
Our reporters look into when students might have access to our newest spaces.
And we tell you why you should never, ever back that phone up.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy this week's episode, East Leiden. Your Eagle update starts right now.
With inflation going on, we are seeing a lot of prices boom. And one major price that is booming up as of right now are cars and their parts, which makes it difficult to decide when to fix it or ditch it.
If your vehicle's on its last straw, you should look at what the cost would be to actually repair it. And if the cost is more than half of the value of the vehicle, then seriously consider looking at a different car. But if the repair cost is going to be less than half of the value of the vehicle, work on getting it fixed because it's still going to be cheaper than a new car.
Knowing these tips are really helpful if you are looking for a repair on your car. But another problem at hand is that car prices are going up due to shortages.
It's hitting the car industry just like every other supply chain issue. And it's supply and demand, so it's driving the cost of cars up, both new and used. I would look at a lot of different cars and don't settle on one set of options. Keep your mind open because there's not a lot of cars to go around. And don't overlook a private party seller. You don't always have to go to a dealership. And I think private party right now is one that the price increase hasn't hit as hard as it has at the dealerships. Poor repairs, cheap parts, look for body damage. Previous body damage, look at how it's repaired, okay? Have somebody else look over a car you're looking at buying. A lot of mechanics will, for a small fee, look over a car that you're thinking about buying and tell you what they find. It's kind of like a home inspection when you're buying a new house. You can have the car inspected before you buy it.
This is Jacob W., and this was your Eagle Update.
There's a new law signed by Gov. J.B. Pritzker saying students in school can get to 5 mental health days without getting a doctor's note. Since the pandemic has hit, the pressure upon students have gotten worse and the suicide rates have risen. In order to reduce that number, students are allowed to take breaks time to time to catch up with their homework or cope with their own mental health.
So, mental health days, this was a law that was passed by the governor August of 2021, so it's effective this school year for the whole state of Illinois. Essentially, the law says that students are allowed to take up to 5 mental health days without a note from the doctor. And so obviously with parents calling in, and but that doesn't have to be a medical note attached to that, is essentially what the law says. We've seen in the last couple years, even pre-COVID, a decline in mental health just with adolescents and teenagers in general. I've been reflecting on students' mental health a lot in the last few weeks, and sometimes what we all need, and students included, is just a day to pause, a day to step back, a day to just, kind of take a break.
I feel like it is actually really good for students in general, because I feel like sometimes us students get stressed out by colleges, homework assignments, maybe stressed about like tests and quizzes, and I feel like some students should have breaks on that point. Without your house.
I think it's great because especially since I work 2 jobs, I think it's like a great opportunity to be able to like catch up on stuff that I'm not able to do in school. And also since I prefer working like alone, so like being at home allows me to be more isolated and get my work done faster. I think it's a great idea, especially since the whole concept is mental health. I think that we should really value students' mental health and make sure that that's a priority for people.
To use the mental health days wisely, and you are not alone in this situation. If you need extra help, don't hesitate in asking your counselor. This is Nicole signing off.
Leiden is currently hosting its annual Food and Toy Drive, where students and faculty are asked to donate non-perishable food items. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, about 10.5% of families suffer from food insecurity. This program was made in hopes to assist individuals and families in the community. Here's more information about what the food drive is and how to donate from our class president, Cassandra Ortiz, and Ms. Hepler.
The Food and Toy Drive is Student Council's annual event. We are in our 16th year of the Food and Toy Drive, and we invite students to bring in non-perishable, non-expired food to their advisories. Can also contribute by dropping some change in a change jar, but it's through your advisory that you can participate.
So the Food and Toy Drive is something that Student Council is setting up for Leiden to help bring the community together by having a contest within advisories for students to bring in either food goods or toy goods for those in need.
Due to COVID-19, food deprivation has been at an all-time high, so donating non-perishable foods can benefit the community significantly. It is also right-minded to give back and help those who need it the most. Here's why Leiden believes it is so important to donate and why students have done so already.
I think it's just a great way to give back during the holiday season, a season in which we tend to care about and think about others who might be in need.
Because you are helping people who are less fortunate than you, and after doing something like this, you should feel a little bit of pride for helping out, and yeah.
It's important for students to participate in this Food and Toy Drive to really give back to the community and to help each other out, as you give some, you get some, you might be in need, and so it's beneficial to help those in need right now.
The Leiden Food Toy Drive is designed to give the community and promote selfless acts of kindness. To get involved, make sure to bring non-perishable foods and hygiene products to your advisory. This is Madison, Johnny, and Nicole signing off.
More than 43% of students have some type of job in high school and are forced to learn to maintain with the job and also the work that they get from school. Some students even start work after school that they don't have time to do things such as homework, get help, or even have time for themselves. East Leiden had this program called the Work Program, where students are given the opportunity to work on the job while maintaining school and also the choice of being left out early. Director of Careers and Community Outreach, Mr. Holhouse, and Mr. Risotto, a business teacher here at Leiden, gives us a general rundown of what the Work Program is and answers to why it's not running this school year.
The Work Program is a class that has two parts. One part is a traditional class where we learn about everything in the world of work, from how to act in those first 8 weeks when you're on the job to getting your first pay stub.
The impact is like no other. Again, this class is as close to the real world as possible, because again, not only are we meeting every single day, learning work skills, but they're leaving school if early release is available to them and it fits in their schedule, to go work on the job. And working on the job and being at work, dealing with a supervisor, manager, co-workers, customers, those skills can't be really acquired anywhere else unless you're working on the job.
And we just didn't quite have enough numbers to run it this year, which is, again, probably the first time in about 50 years that's happened. I blame COVID. But we are excited for next year, and we plan on running it again.
We do feel bad, especially, seniors have lost out on opportunities for a lot of things. But again, for the current juniors right now, hopefully we see you next year, and we'll have this program up and running ready for you guys in the 2022-2023 school year.
Stefania, a senior here at East Leiden High School, who works 2 jobs and doesn't come home until around 2 in the morning, and is still doing an amazing job with keeping up with schoolwork. She tells us her opinion on the Work Program and how it would not only help her, but other students here at Leiden.
I definitely think leaving early would benefit me to just relieve any stress, just because it's working a lot. Sometimes I can get behind on my notes in for example, my psychology class, or I can just get behind on any material that I have. So it'd be nice to just have a few hours to myself where I can just get my life together and just put everything back in order. Yeah, I would definitely do the Work Program, just because I think it would relieve a lot of stress off my chest, and I think it's just not fair for students to be, this is kind of like a full-time job in a way. I'm here for 8 hours and then I have to go to work, and the same thing on the weekends I have to work. So it's it'd be nice to just be able to lay back a bit. And I'm also a senior, it's my last year, so I'd be appreciative if I'd be able to take some time for myself.
With students being upset about not having the work program this year, which leaves a lot on their plate, they're glad that it will be coming back hopefully by next year. So if interested, please talk to your counselor for enrollment.
It's the time of year when young people, even teenagers, get excited about opening presents, whether that be a shiny new phone or a fresh pair of sneakers. The wait can be tough, especially if you know what you could have. Leiden students might find this waiting a little easier, as they've been doing this all year. Many of the new bells and whistles that came as part of Leiden's construction haven't been fully unwrapped. Areas like the mezzanine, upstairs and downstairs, aren't available every day, and even new spaces like the cafeteria or the rehab library are only open for 30 minutes after school. Students have noticed that they're not able to maximize these new spaces.
In high school, I have been working at doing my homework in the mezzanine, but some security guards have told me to go home at 3:10, which I find unfair. I just try to finish my projects before I go to work because that's the best time that I could do it. And after work, I'm just tired and really don't feel like doing anything.
I remember one time I had to stay after school to finish up some work. And I remember a teacher telling me, like, there's space in the mezzanine, you can work there. And I thought I had more time, but by 3:30 they kicked me out. A security guard asked me to leave, and I just felt like if I had more time, it'd be a lot better.
East Principal Dr. Dominic Manola is as eager to open all of the $50 million project that includes the mezzanine, the new pool, and the band rooms. But he also offered some explanation about why the spaces can't be fully maximized. Much of the limited access can be explained as yet another victim of the COVID era, especially when trying to move to the mezzanine library during Eagle time.
And so they benefit, one, they're just a place to be. And we want it to be as welcoming and as warm as it possibly can. So the library has gone over, and Ms. Kaniva and her staff has done a great job. Many renovations with new furniture and making it lighter and brighter. If you remember the old CAF, which I know we're still using a little bit compared to what our new space is all about, we want this space to be yours, to be welcoming, to be warm. And then on top of it, providing additional support. So the library or the cafeteria space is really centered around just a space to be, to relax, to be with your friends. With the whole new cafeteria actually opened up right before COVID hit. So it was a several year project, but I think it was around February of 2020 when it finally opened. We were still serving lunch in the old cafeteria, which means you would have been sophomores at the time. And shortly after everything opened, everything shut down again. So we've never been able to truly use it to its fullest potential. And it just makes us really sad, but we're hoping to get there as soon as we can. So during Eagle time, and as we talked about a little bit, the idea of independent seminar in particular hasn't been able to come fully to where we want it to be because of COVID. So the idea would be if you're in independent seminar, the spaces are yours to move to the library, move to the cafeteria. Because of COVID, we're not able to do that the way we wanted to do it. So actually during independent seminar, during Eagle time, certain kids are assigned to the cafeteria, to the mezzanine, and certain kids are assigned to the library. So there's not that free movement that we had hoped for. We're really hoping to get there as soon as we can, but right now with COVID, we have to make sure we know where people are. So at this point, no, but down the road, that's the plan.
Yet COVID isn't the only factor. Especially after school, when kids utilize the new spaces, many are dismissed at 3:10 as a result of limited staff.
In order to staff these spaces, everyone here, they work the 8-hour day. And so if we wanted the library open longer, we'd have to either start someone later, which would mean they wouldn't be here in the morning, or we'd have to look at potentially adding additional staff, which is additional resources, additional money. But right now, the biggest piece is COVID, making sure we know where students are. In the worst case scenario, we have to contact trace. If people are moving fully around the building, it's a lot harder than if we know, okay, certain students are in the library, certain students are in the mezzanine, etc. What we say is student-teacher time goes from 2:40 to 3:10. So every teacher in the building is available for that half hour every day, and we really would encourage our students to take advantage of that. Chat with one teacher, see multiple teachers. So from 2:40 to 3:10, the building's open for everyone. The library's open, the mezzanine, the cafeteria's open as people are getting onto the bus. After 3:10, what we really say is we want you involved. Join a club, join an activity, join a sports team.
Manola explained that although things aren't looking up to what they're supposed to, the board and staff are willing to discuss ways to improve and modify the way students learn during Eagle time and student-teacher time.
If we sense a need to make some shifts, we'll always look at it. We'll talk about what might be feasible right now, how we plan for it. We'll look at data, we'll look at information, and we'll work together to see if we can come up with a plan. So I would say if anyone wants to look at some different approaches to this, let us know, and we'd be more than happy to have that conversation to see if we can make some progress to, again, be here for you and support you as best we can.
With the season just brewing up for the girls' basketball team, some unexpected changes occurred during the summer that the previous coach, Stephanie Kuzmanik, was leaving to ISU. Because of this, a new head coach needed to be picked to lead the Leiden girls program to success.
Hi Leiden, I'm Tony Smith and I'm a physical education teacher and health teacher here at East Leiden. I'm also the head girls basketball coach.
Taking on a head coach position as a new member to the Leiden community is a huge adjustment for the players and the coach.
It has its own challenges and there's some advantages to it as well. With all of my coaching experience together in all sports and the boys and girls, I think has prepared me to take on the job here at Leiden. And it's change is difficult for most, I think, and you can either embrace it or you can challenge change. But all of the experiences I had so far here, the girls are doing an outstanding job of embracing it.
Selecting a new coach is not an easy task, especially when the previous coach did not leave through retirement or by being fired. Here's Rick Mason explaining what he looks for when choosing a new coach.
I think the first thing that we always look for in any coach is that we want them to be a strong teacher, good in the classroom, because those qualities translate into being a successful coach. And then obviously someone who can make connections with students, someone who can be a positive role model for our athletes and prepare them for sports and for life.
Finally, Coach Smith lets us know his plans as a coach and how he will go about his new team.
I want to continue to build with Coach Kuzmanik had going, and I just want to build on that, and I want to connect first, and because they are my players second and people first, in my opinion. And I just want to build that connection and help them learn the skills to be very successful once the ball stops bouncing for them.
Although Mr. Smith is a new face to Leiden, he is doing a great job with the girls, and hopefully the team can get some wins this season and continue to grow and adapt with the coach.
In the afternoon, many of us run into the same problem with an almost dead phone. So we look to the nearest power source, our Chromebook. This is a good idea until you get suspended because you backed up your photos and videos to your Chromebook. Miss Plum, a new dean here at Leiden, explains a little bit more of the consequences and what has happened because a student pushes that backup button.
This is your device, but this is our device. So if you tell it to back it up, all of your camera, like all of your pictures, all of your videos, all of your everything can sync up with the Chromebook. And when you have things in your Chromebook that are not school appropriate, then that becomes a consequential offense. So we've had students back up their Snapchats, pictures, things of that nature. It is something that is definitely something that happens and something that causes a lot of problems.
Gaggle is the software Leiden pays to look over students' emails, pictures, and videos on their Chromebooks.
So their system, Gaggle, is constantly monitoring student emails in Google Drive for keywords, photos, videos. So anything that's in your Google Drive is being scanned by Gaggle. If they find questionable content, they have different degrees of that questionable content. Depending on the severity of it, somebody at the district might be notified. And it's possible that the file might be removed out of your Google Drive and put into the Gaggle locker, where then an administrator would have access to see that file, but they get notified that there's questionable content in student A's Google Drive. They get a link to the file so that they can see that.
Leiden students are unaware of the backup button when charging their phones.
And most of the time, it's not been malicious. It's not been something that they intended to distribute or anything like that. It was a mistake. It was a personal photo on their phone. When they thought they were charging their phone on their Chromebook, they errantly clicked the backup and transferred all of those files over. And they transferred it to a student account.
A student synced their phone, and we called the student down because there was a whole bunch of pictures of, yes, male genitalia on the Chromebook, and we were like, oh my gosh, because we have to review everything that goes on. So that's something that we have to review, which is not always super fun, especially for me. So we called the student down, but then when we were surprised to see that the pictures were very clearly a different person than the person that was in front of us. So it was a completely different race of person. So we looked at the pictures and we looked at the student in front of us, and the student said, "I swear that's not mine." So then all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, whoa.
In one situation, there was a student that got called down to see Officer O'Connor about a particular file, and the student said, "Well, that's not even me. That's my friend." He's like, "I have no idea how that got on my Google Drive." And then as they talked through it, he said, "Oh, you know what? We were at lunch one day. He needed to charge his phone. I had my Chromebook, so he plugged his phone into my Chromebook." And again, when you're not paying attention to what's popping up and you're just clicking through or whatever, all of that student B's photos and videos got backed up to student A's Google Drive, and it was in his file that Gaggle flagged it.
Students are getting suspended for inappropriate pictures, videos, and more, now on their school Chromebook.
We've had students back up their phone, and let's say they went to a party the weekend before, and let's say they were smoking or drinking or doing other things at the party that are not school appropriate. They back up those pictures and videos of themselves doing those things onto their Chromebook, which is their school issue device. That is them doing things that are not school appropriate per the code of conduct. So it breaks the code of conduct because they're doing activities that they shouldn't be doing. They're not doing them at school, however, they put it on their device, which means that's where it gets into a gray area of it being on a school issue device, and it's not appropriate behavior on a school issue device. So we always caution students to keep in mind that any picture that you take whatsoever, any picture that you take can be downloaded. So it can be funny memes that you think are funny but may not be school appropriate. It can be pictures of yourself that are definitely not school appropriate. It's something to always be very, very careful of when you're using that backup button. We've also had ones where it's been students that are distributing other students' stuff, which is really serious. We can't have that happen. So that's kind of a more serious way it's gone, but we've had a lot of students plug their phones in, and we've seen a lot of things that we really, really haven't want to see. I feel really lucky to work here at Leiden. We don't do a whole heck of a lot of expulsions, but we do send students to other schools that may be more appropriate for their academics. So for example, if you have a picture on there of a student with guns and drugs making threats towards other students, well, that's a really, really serious offense. And especially if they're making threats towards another student that goes to the school, we have to look at that and see if this is, what the appropriate consequence is. So whether that's a suspension or, going to a different school or an expulsion, we really have to take everything, all the different factors into account when we're looking at the pictures.
Overall, just don't push the backup button.
Don't push the backup button when you plug in your phone.
Please don't. Please don't. Unless you have a pristine phone and there's nothing on there that you don't care that your deans see. But I don't think that there's anyone here with a phone. Even the nicest kids on campus, I think, all have something that they don't want the deans to see. We don't want to read your messages. We don't want to see your music. We don't want to see your memes. We don't want to see any of your pictures. Just please keep all that personal stuff to yourself. Charge your phone if you want to, but do not push the backup button.
That's all the news we have time for today, East Leiden. Remember to check your email to read the daily bulletin for news on club meetings, tryouts, and other events here at school. There are a number of holiday-themed events happening in fine arts to get you in the spirit for the season, and winter sports competitions are underway.
If you got ideas for future segments, tweet us at EaglesEye212 or send an email to Mr. Ross. We look forward to telling your stories for the Eagle Update. This is Colin O'Neill
and Gus Tosterud
signing off.